Years ago, in a country where the Eastern Orthodox Church is predominant, a priest was in a village by chance and was given to understand that it happened to be a big day in the life of the village. He wanted to know why, and he was given this information that it was the day of the patron saint of that village. So he was delighted. He himself was a priest, but was not indicating that publicly at that moment. He was just in transit. But he went into the village church hoping that he would benefit from the occasion. There was no one in the church. There wasn't actually even a celebration. He asked where everyone was. It was the heart of the summer, and they were all busy. There was important agricultural work to be done. And the priest apparently had come, but since there was no one there, he did not celebrate. Now this priest, the one who was passing, asked if he could put on the sacred vestments. And he went behind the holy doors and started, "Blessed be the name of the Undivine and Holy Trinity." And we started to hear his voice swelling and in antiphonal mode polyphony. And it was angels replying. Angels. And he carried on. And at a certain point, where the choir normally would be, and in the east that would just be 2 or 3 men with a powerful voice, he heard a huge echo of polyphony vibrating through the whole village church, going out of the door and reaching the fields. And the people were moved. What is this? And out of curiosity, they gravitated towards the village church and saw the priest behind the holy doors and heard the wonderful echo. And the village priest himself also drifted in and burst into tears. And after the 3 long-hour celebration, the visiting priest gave him to understand what had happened, and he understood that never ever should he abstain from celebrating because of those who were or were not there. For the priest is never alone at the altar. The whole court of heaven is there. And in the East, it has been given to understand to some holy mystics that if one saw what was there, one would crawl in and kiss every grain of dust near the sanctuary area as though it was so much gold. In the East, because they have not evolved at all, things are as they were, for better or for worse. The B-side is that they are so afraid, out of holy fear, that they don't approach, oftentimes not more than once a year at Holy Thursday, but for the pious a few more times. But even they will not go without confession and without the priest's personal blessing. So he knows exactly who's going to be there. And they will, on those days, consider a day apart from other days, and fast from midnight, and pray intensely before and after. We also had that until, I suppose, about just over 150 years ago. There was an evolution. It was positive initially. St. Pius X encouraged frequent communion, but always warning not to go into what he could foresee would be the possible consequences, which is what has happened in our time: a mechanical mode, an irreverent mode, a presumptuous mode, a casual mode. He also opened the doors to the little people, For he knew, actually through the influence of our own Nelly of Holy God, our children are very close to the Lord. Remember that, little people? All of you, without exception, when it comes to the time, the Lord loves coming to you. And it's important that we prepare their heart. And the devil has been obliged to admit that as well. He can't bear it, because he wants to get there first. He wants their heart first. Getting used to. It's not a good thing. Familiarity breeds contempt. As I was telling you before, I was brought up in Wales as a Welsh Baptist, and Holy Communion in the Baptist Church would be on the first Sunday of the month. There might be an extra one thrown in, but that was the important one. And on the Thursday before, there would be preparation. A prayer meeting in preparation for Holy Communion. A prayer meeting in preparation for Holy Communion. In Scotland, where it is the Presbyterian Church that dominates, it's every 3 months. It's quarterly. And there, the whole village prepares. It's a big event. Now, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that when one has known the other side, one is shocked at the casualness with which the Holy of Holies is approached. And children are not given the education. Indeed, how can they be when they see Auntie so-and-so handling the Blessed Sacrament, going to the tabernacle, dressed in trousers and giving it in the hand. The education happens on every level, my friends. We need something of the thirst and the desire, the freshness, the explosion. Not long after ordination, I found the altar in Rome where I was studying, where St. Maximilian Kolbe had celebrated his first Mass. And I asked if I could celebrate there. It's in a church tucked away, not too far from the Piazza San Silvestro. And it's not changed. And the altar is not changed either. It's not the main altar. It's an altar where something had happened. And that's why he asked, because he was a Marian priest, as you know, to celebrate there. The Madonna had appeared there before to a Jew. It was one of the Ratisbon brothers. And he was converted on the spot. He had actually been given a miraculous medal by a friend of his. And he was given to understand the fullness of the Catholic faith. Maximilian Kolbe climbed those same altar steps, and that's an important thing in itself. One goes upwards to God. He's not our equal. And indeed, in our time, Gabriel Abbott, the exorcist, has indicated that the correct position before God is kneeling. It's the attitude of the creature. Because when one stands, one is an equal. One is on equal terms. Think of these things. Physically, we adore as well. We're not just mind. I get back. So, I was able to climb those altar steps, and there Our Lady had been, and he had been, around 1918. He was ordained there. And I was doing the Roman canon. It was exactly the same, the shock, of which Eastern Orthodox bishops have spoken in the ambit of the explosion of Holy Saturday. They say that when they go on Holy Saturday into the Holy Sepulchre alone, and the candles are lit by the finger of God, miraculously every year, they say it's the same shock as they have when it comes to being alone behind the holy doors when they pronounce the words which bring heaven to earth. It's exactly the same encounter between man and God. Now do you see also why It's a great help to the celebrant not to have to think about people at that point, but to be orientated even physically to the one that's greater, and to bring the people with him into glory. What the people want at that point is not a DJ, my friends. They want a mystagogue, a friend, but also a trembling friend of God. Not a mate. Not someone who can also, in the same celebration, make them giggle and laugh. And so it was that I realized that in spite of changes here and there, the same electricity is there, the unchanging explosion of the real presence. I make a jump in time. It's some years ago now, some centuries ago. You may know that the first martyrs of the continent of North America were Jesuits. It was Isaac Jogues, Jean de Brébeuf and companions, terribly butchered. But Isaac Jogues was first of all terribly tortured and mutilated in such a way that he would never ever be able to celebrate again. That was probably the optic, actually, of chopping away at his fingers and his stumps basically had left. Do you know that somehow he was able to escape and find his way with his stumps back to France, back to the Jesuits? There he was, unable to do a thing. But something prompted him. Remember now, in those days there were severe canon laws about who could celebrate and how. Maybe something can be done. And he wrote personally to the Holy Father. Now, there's a story which goes into detail at this point. I bypass that, but it's something which shouldn't have happened normally, given the amount of correspondence and things that he had to handle. But out of the blue, he wanted, as an afterthought, to know more about this case. And when, after inquiry, he found all the details, he wrote a personal, warm letter of rescript to this man in Paris. When Isaac Jogues read the rescript, he burst into tears. He asked for the sacred vestments, and with the joy and fervour of his first Mass, he went up again the altar steps with those words, Intuibo ad altare Dei, ad Deum qui letificat juventutem meam, who gives joy to my youth. And you know that with the grace of this, he asked then for more. He asked to be allowed to go back to Canada, knowing what was ahead. Of course, he was caught, again tortured and tomahawked to death at a tree. These, my friends, understood what we're doing at the altar, not the DJ who has to entertain the people. Children need not be entertained at the altar. They need to meet somebody. And for that to happen, we need to meet him ourselves. God loves the little people. They belong to him. Let us give them not short change, but the real thing. The God of heaven and earth who is unchanged and unchanging and demands not the shoddy and the cheap, but the best that man can give. For there, we're in the harmony of the angels who are surrounding us by the myriad, echoing our chant.
et vivificandum, quid et Patre Filioque procedit. Et unam sanctam catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiam